All right, well, let's give Fred a head. All right, I'm going to start over here in my Create tab and just go for a sphere and just drag out a sphere and right click. And so then I'm going to go to my Modify tab, and I think I want that radius to be about 1 foot. Keep it nice and simple. That'll be a good size for him. And the segments, I want more segments. I want like about 64 segments so that we've got a lot of stuff to work with. That should be good. And finally, what I'm going to do is, since I'm going to be messing around with this, I want to make it an editable mesh. And I want to name it Fred Head, because it is Fred's head, after all. All right. And so finally what we'll do is let's go ahead and isolate it by going down here to the isolate toggle. There it is. Okay, so now that we have all that, what I want to do is I want to put this into the center of the world. By putting things into the center, it just makes things a lot easier, because then other things you can center out and it puts it exactly where you think it should go. All right, well, the first thing that we want to do is we want to give Fred a mouth. So I'm going to go here to my front viewport. Okay, zoom in a little bit. And let's see, I'm going to go for my polygons. And you know what, but before I even do that, here's what we're going to do. We need to give Fred a material. So go to my material editor and make a sub-object, multi-sub-object, there it is. And I'm going to just go ahead, assign that to Fred right off the bat. I'm going to call it Fred. And I'm going to give it, I'm not sure exactly how many I'll need, so I'm not going to set the number right now, but I'll give myself at least a few standard materials to play with. Remember, it's just right down here where it says none. I click on that. Then when it comes up, I go to where the standard is, double click, and that gives me a standard material. Okay, good enough. All right, and I think that, thinking about it, I'm going to give the mouth a material. Could make it black, and I might change it to black, but I think I'll just make it sort of a, medium light red to start with. And the second material, I think I'll make that just sort of a creamy white color. I know Fred's brown, and who knows what Fred will end up being. He was just made that chocolate brown just because that's how he was randomly made. Okay, and we're just going to say, okay, we'll be putting this material all over Fred here in the very near future. All right, and I can just let that go. All right, so back to this. First thing I want to do, let's see, what is this guy? So I select the whole element over here, and I want to make sure it's got a material ID of 2. Yes, that was a good guess that would be right. So that is all 2, and that is all good. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go to my polygons, and I'm going to start drawing out a mouth. So instead of being on my Move tool, I'm going to move over here to my Select Object tool. Now I'm pretty sure I've shown you this before, but I want to make sure that you know that this ignore back facing, sometimes you're going to want it on, sometimes you're going to want it off. In this case I'm going to want it on, because otherwise if I select something here, come around to the other side, you'll see I've selected over there too, and I don't want that. So I've got ignore back facing on. And so now when I select this, let's see, maybe right about, maybe right about here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's good. And if I look around the back, hopefully, yep, nothing. Alrighty. And let's assign this material ID of 1, because that's the color that we made the lips. Okay, so now we can see that we've got that. And so to make a smile, what I would do is I would go ahead and on my vertices, I would use soft select Okay, remember that soft select. And I would just open that up and I would say use soft select. And I would maybe choose these two vertices over here and control and choose these ones over here. Okay, and you can see that I've soft selected, well, almost everything, right? So over here in the fall off, we want to pull that down, selecting less, 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 less. We're gonna play a lot with soft select here in these next couple tutorials. Anyways, and you can see I can select more or less of it, just like we kind of did with the chairs. All right, so I'm going to select a little bit less, and I'm going to take my move tool, and you can see I can just move this up, making kind of a smile. That's all right. I'm not sure if I like that smile or not. I'm going to right click so I don't keep making that smile. But here's one thing. So if I was to make that smile right now, it'd be very permanent. Okay, and also I wouldn't be able to open up the mouth. So let's do a few more things and then come back to this. I'm going to turn off soft select, and I'm going to go to the edge. We've been dealing with vertices. Let's come on up here to give you a visual. We've been dealing with vertices and sometimes with polygons and with elements. Now we're going to go to the edge. Okay, so I've got the edge selected, and I'm going to zoom in here to the mouth, and I'm going to open it up. So I've got that nice and big in here. I want to get real close to it. And going down here in the parameters, I'm going to go all the way down till I see cut right there. So there we go. There's my cut. And you'll see that when my cursor goes over one of these lines, it changes to a little bullseye. Okay, so I'm going to go here, maybe a little bit above center here, and I'm just dragging this line over to the other side, sort of getting it nice and straight, and letting go. All right, and so that has essentially cut these polygons in half. I'm going to go a little bit more so you can see how I'm pulling that out, and I'm going to go here to the very next one. And I'm not going to go very down low. I'm going to keep it nice and close up to here. Okay, clicking again. Okay, pull it out again. And nice and straight. And click again. And then bring it over here to where I originally did it. Okay, and click again. All right, that will kind of complete that circle. Finally, I don't want to keep cutting, so I'm going to right click and stop doing that. Also, I'm going to go over here to where it says cut, and I'm going to click that so I don't keep cutting things. Okay, so now that I've got these polygons, right, I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to delete them. So I'm going to go back here to polygons, and I'm going to click here, and then control here, here, so forth, so on, selecting all those polygons. And then I'm going to say delete. And you can see this is why I made the mouth red instead of black, because otherwise it'd be hard to see. The black is just the inside of the sphere. It's just really dark in there. That's why you can't see in there. Okay, now the problem with it right now is that, let's go to vertices, click on any one of these vertices. Okay, and we'll see that this is paper thin. Well, it's actually thinner than paper. It has no thickness whatsoever, so it's going to be kind of funny. So we want to put a shell modifier on this guy. Okay, so back up to the top level here, and I'm going to get the Modify tab, and I'm going to get a shell. But hang on. What I'm also going to do, just so that you can see it, it's not that important, but just so you can see it, I don't know if I've told you this before, but I can make this see-through by going pushing down the Alt key and the X key, and that has made this see-through. So if I were to render it, there it is, right? But on in the viewport here, I'll see through it. You'll see in a second. Okay, so I've got that, and I'm going to go here to my shell modifier. So down, down, down. Okay, there it is. Starts with S, and this is always alphabetical, so shell. Okay, and the shell modifier usually comes this way, where it puts a shell around the outside. I don't really want a shell around the outside. I want to go inside for no real reason. That's just because I made it a foot and I want it to be a foot. Okay, so where it says outer amount, I'm just going to zero that out. And where it's on the inner amount, I want it to be really thin, just so it has some thickness. So I'm going to go like, let's say 0.02. Okay, so that's going to be really thin. I think that's going to be about 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, look at that. It turned out to be just 1/4 of an inch. Okay, great. And you can kind of see, oh, let's see if you can really see, this might get really confusing real fast, that there is an inner shell now in this thing. It's a bit more complex than it was before. Okay, and I'm going to go Alt-X again so we don't have to keep looking at that confusion. And if I were to, let's say, pick, well, let's see, a vertice. Before we do that, back to my shell modifier here, let's go ahead and bake it in. We know we want it, we're going to keep it, so we're going to right click in here and go to collapse all, just like we did with the UVW modifier. Okay, so collapse all, sure. And so now, if I go to my vertice, I've got that one selected still, zoom in, and you'll see that there's a bit of a shell. Well, you know, so it has some thickness to it. So let's see here. What if I was to select this one and control this one? Okay, pulling it out, you would see, yeah, it's not paper thin anymore. It has just a little bit of thickness to it. That's going to be so much more sort of natural. All right, okay, so back to our front view here. So now the next thing is if I used my soft select and I just pulled up the edges, so control and right here, and make my fall off smaller and made them smile, then I'd be stuck with that smile for like ever, right? And I don't want to be stuck with that smile. In fact, I want to be able to give them different expressions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start animating him. How you do that is you come down here. You can see where the timeline is. We haven't worked on this yet. Okay, and down here, you'll see what's called the auto. See that auto button? Click that. Everything turns red around the viewport and across the timeline. That is the auto key. Okay, more on that in a much later video. So anyways, I've got these selected, and what I can do is I can go over here, let's say move this slider. You see this is the slider right here, and I'll move it just over to, let's say, 10. That'll be convenient. And then I could pull up, and that's all good. And then, so if I like that, I can just keep it like that, turning off my auto key and continue to work away. But if I wanted him to have just that straightforward expression, I could just move that slide over there and you can see it's back to how it was. Okay, I'm actually going to get rid of this keyframe here just by, see, drawing a marquee around it and saying delete. Okay, so we're not going to get heavy into animation right now, just a few basics to get us started. All right, so yeah, let's go here, turning on our auto key again. Go to 10. With those vertices selected, I'm going to go here and control, I'm going to go here. I've got those selected. And so we're going to start playing with this soft select a little bit. So as you know, you can take the fall off and you can bring it out or down, selecting more or less, right? But also you can do things with the how that works, both the pinch and the bubble. Here, let me just show you. So right now it's set just kind of in its standard mode with the pinch being 0 and the bubbles being 0, and the fall off is, well, whatever you make it, right? And so if I was to pull up the corners of that smile, there it is. That's a cute smile, nothing wrong with that. But what if I want it to be a little bit different? Okay, what I could do is, let's say, go with the bubble right here. And I'm going to bring the bubble up to 0.5. let's say. And you'll see that that's going to change the way that, that smile looks a little bit. Maybe that's even the opposite of what I wanted. What about if I was to go to all the way to 1, making it almost a perfect circle? Well, now that's really the opposite of what I wanted it to be. So instead, I'm going to bring this back down to 0, and I'm going to play with the pinch. And that's something that we haven't played with before. So right now it's at 0. What if I brought the pinch up to, let's say, 0.5? Okay, you would see that what happens is that it's going to affect around here, around the actual vertices more, and out here less. Kind of the opposite of what the bubble did. So now when I pull it up, oh, you can see it's a much rounder smile. Let's say if I was to go all the way to 1, you would see that's even affecting the edges that much more. Okay, I think I'll just go back to like 0.5. That'll be fine. Okay, and I'm going to pull it up a little bit, and there's my little closed mouth smile. All good. And that has now set a keyframe. So when I go here, I can move that slider. Now, if I wanted to go back to just going flat, instead of pulling these down again, what I could do is go over here to my original keyframe at 0, all the way down here at 0, click on that. You see how it turns white. Okay, well that's once it's been selected now. That's just what it looks like when it's been selected. I can shift copy it like I can do so many other things. I'll just hold down my shift key, and I'll take and I'll move that along. And you can see I'll take it all the way to 20. That'd be good. And so then when I can go from 0 to smile and back down to 0. Now let's try and give it a little bit more of an open mouth smile. So first off, whenever I'm using soft select, I find it's best to just zero out the pinch and the bubble when I first start anything, because it just makes it less confusing. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select one of the vertices right in the middle, and then see that edge back there. I want to get that as well. So I'll control click. So I've got both sides of that. And in fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and select the ones on the left and the right as well. Okay, now let's go back to the front. Okay, so there we go. We've got these front ones selected on the lower lip. And if I pull down, oh, wait a minute, that's not exactly what I expected. All right, so what we have to do is we have to go over here to edge distance. I'm going to select edge distance, and it should probably be set to 1, and you'll see that it's only affecting one edge or one row away from it. See, like so. If we wanted to select a little bit more than that, we can go maybe 2 or 3 more. If I keep going up, it's really not doing anything more. So I can see where it's just selecting and affecting. So I'll bring that down. So 3 edge faces away. That was good. And then the fall off. Do I like that fall off? That might be all right. I might bring that up just a little bit to affect more of an area. Okay. And so I'll bring that down. Oh, excuse me. I'll move my slider over. And then I'll bring that down. And there it is, giving me a little bit more of an open mouth smile right there. Okay, and I could even take, if I wanted to, and grab this right here, and grab this right here, and just bring those up a little bit too, if I wanted. Okay, so there we go. We've got that. Now look what happens here. You see that funny thing how it's falling down? That's because we had not moved these middle ones before. And now since we have, what we have to do is we have to move them all the way, because you see if we go all the way back down, it'll set to that 0 point all the way down here. So what I have to do is, since I expected it to be at 0 at 20, is I'll just take that first keyframe once again, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key, bring it over to the 20, exactly where I'd had it before, but now you'll see that it should all be working pretty well. Okay, so good enough. Good enough. And I'm going to turn off my auto key and turn off my soft select for now and go back to the top level.